The following is a rebroadcast of the 1992 Tri-State Tournament of Champions. Be sure to join Doug Brown and Dan Murphy on Sunday, October 11th for a brand new season of Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Mike Morgan arrived in this year's Tournament of Champions with a 4.55 to beat Glenn LeBlanc. 2 weeks ago, he beat brother Tom Morgan with a 4.02. In those matches, Mike got out to a comfortable lead and wasn't really threatened in the third game. Last week, he got out to a big lead again, thanks to a late explosion in Game 1.
That looks good, too.
166.
With a 41-pin lead after 2 games, it looked like a lock. But Dave Richards put some marks together at the tail end of the match and needed this mark in the 10th to have a chance to win it.
Yep. Oh, and that's it. That is it. And you see the reaction. And over on the bench, Mike Morgan just leaned back and threw a towel in the air.
Last year, Pat Pay started as the number 4 seed and won 4 straight matches to take the Tournament of Champions title. Can Mike Morgan do the same? Stay tuned for the finals of the 1992 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, come on! Oh, 20 more! Oh!
From Park Place Lanes in Windham, featuring outstanding Candlepin bowlers from all over New England.
You're gonna hear some noise if this is a strike. Got a shot at it. Hey, he's got it in a row! Oh, wow!
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to a packed, and I mean packed, Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Welcome to Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Welcome to Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our final show of the season. That is final show at noon. We'll have another show coming up at 1 o'clock, the Doubles Tournament of Champions, but this is the final of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, Dan, and we're down to 2 bowlers. We got one guy who's been waiting and another guy who's been very, very hot.
They couldn't think of 2 better bowlers to be in the finals. Mike Morgan and Paul Berger, 2 quality Candlepin bowlers, and I expect they'll be here with their best bowling, too.
All right, let's meet both bowlers. If you've been with us the last several weeks, you already know this first guy very well. He has won 3 matches in a row. He has had 400 or better 3 consecutive weeks. From Lynn, Massachusetts, our number 4 seed, Mike Morgan.
I'm almost embarrassed to mention his average at 125. He's averaging about 140 on the show, 188 for a high single, 474 for a high triple.
And he has knocked off, in order, Glenn LeBlanc, his brother Tom Morgan, and then last week Dave Richards. And today he will try and make it 4 in a row as he will try and take the title away from a previous Tournament of Champions winner. Guy who won the title 2 years ago. He's been sitting in that number 1 spot waiting for this chance from Hopedale, Mass., our number 1 seed, Paul Berger.
And he's been in every one of the Tournament of Champions tournament, and he averages 127, 193, and his high triple at 500, and I'm sure if you haven't heard about that, we'll talk more about it later on in the show.
Indeed we will, and we will also talk more about the prize money in this one. Lots of cash on the line. $600 to the runner-up, $1,500 to the winner. We'll have the bonus ball contest, as always, at the end of the show. We had a winner last week, but we've kept all the postcards in the TV, so everybody will get a second chance this week. And we're going to start this championship batch, 3 strings, Mike Morgan and Paul Berger, right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. Well, if you've missed any of the first 4 weeks of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, it's been relatively simple, pretty much. Glenn LeBlanc threw a big 400 triple the first week to knock off Stu Bergman, and the last 3 weeks, Mike Morgan has thrown 400 triples or better to knock off first Glenn LeBlanc, then Tom Morgan, and then Dave Richards. And now, Mike Morgan will try and make it 4 wins in a row, but in order to do that, he's going to have to beat our number 1 seed, Paul Berger.
Mike starts 4 horsemen left with the 10-pin. Then starts with the mark. Listen to this crowd. Wow. Crowd is into it already.
Well, already this is unprecedented. The first 4 weeks of the Tournament of Champions have each featured a 400 triple. And well, I won't say anything because my track record lately has been to jinx people, so I won't say anything from there, but you know what I was going to say.
I know, and everybody at home was saying, please, Doug, don't say it. 1, 2, 4 for spare number 2. In a row. Good way to get the cobwebs out and the butterflies and everything else. Open with a couple marks.
And here's our number 1 seed, Paul Berger, who qualified for the Tournament of Champions back on December 22nd when he knocked off Tim Lipke with a 437. Tim Lipke threw a 404 against him. And there's a spare in the first for Paul Berger. A very delicately accomplished spare off the head pin.
Just touches the head pin. The wood does a lot of the damage on the 2-pin and the 7. And 7-pin drop.
You heard Dan mention it earlier. Paul Berger now has appeared in all 4 of the Tournament of Champions events. This is the 4th annual. In 1989, he was the number 6 seed and lost his first match to, guess who? Mike Morgan. That's the only other time these two guys have met here on Stars and Strikes. Back in the 1989 Tournament of Champions, the first week, Mike Morgan won it 412 to 399.
That's right. Paul did mention that. I was talking before the show, and he mentioned that. Had a good score of 399 and lost to Mike Morgan.
Mike
the middle.
Filling his second mark with a 5. So that was 89. Lost his first Tournament of Champions match. Then, in 1990, Paul came back as the number 1 seed and won the tournament with a win over Al Cloutier with a 391. Then last year, Paul was the number 3 seed and was one of several victims of Pat Pay, who won last year's event. Like off the head pin that time.
Ball's breaking a little sharper left to right than it normally does for Mike. Be an indication he's just letting up on the speed a little bit.
We've talked about this quite a bit the last 3 weeks when Mike's been here, but his overall record now here on Stars and Strikes is 13-2. It's 12-2 in singles competition, and of those 14 singles matches, he has thrown 400 or better 11 times.
It's an amazing record. The man you're looking at right here has an amazing record too. I mentioned at the start of the show of the 500 triple. Now, if you're a Candlepin bowling fan and you live in New England and you haven't heard about this, where have you been? Paul had strings of 159, 148, and 193 on the Channel 5 show out of Boston.
That was just a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you, as everybody knows, we tape our programs in advance, and it just so happened that we had a taping session the day after Paul threw that 500, and I'll tell you, that was just the talk of the day all day long. The first 500 ever rolled on television, Candlepins.
Amazing. It's really funny how people are. I was standing there talking to Paul, and I don't know who the... See that spare replay first. I don't know who the gentleman was standing with us, but he was talking about the spares that he missed. I says, well, how many open frames did he have?
What have you done for me lately?
That's right. Amazing score. Amazing. 500 for 3 games.
What's your high triple?
476. I think for a minute.
Been a while since you've been up there, huh?
And I wasn't close to 500. I mean, 24 pins sounds like it was close, but I know the last few frames I was like a double strike, spare strike or something. I got a lot of them in the last few boxes, so to throw 500, that's wow.
I was talking to one of the bowlers, I don't remember which one it was, recently about the fact also that it's pretty much a generally accepted rule of thumb among the bowlers that, of course, a lot of these guys bowl on the Pro Tour and they bowl in a lot of events that require 10 strings. Many of them are 5, but a lot of them are 10. And the high triple only applies to the first 3 strings that you roll. At least several bowlers have told me that that's the way you do it. It's not like if you're rolling a 10-string event, you don't count the 5th, 6th, and 7th strings as your high triple if you happen to get a high score.
That rule was just changed several years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh! It was only for a 10 bucks, but that was a marvelous shot right there.
Nothing is sacred down there. There you go.
6-7.
6 into the 7.
Didn't want to touch the wood. He hopped it right over the wood. Well, a 4-pin lead here early on for Paul Berger, and he'll have to show us a shot here to make this one. Ooh.
He almost did.
Well, Paul is on an incredible run here on Stars and Strikes. We mentioned that he lost in the Tournament of Champions last year, but that's the only time he's lost here in the last 2.5 years. And of the last 5 times he's been here, now 6 times, including today, 5 times he's been the #1 seed. In all of the previous occasions he's been the #1 seed, he has won. And he came in as the #1 seed today. Mike Morgan.
This place got awfully quiet.
Don't forget, stay tuned. Right after our final here on Stars and Strikes, we will take a quick break and then slide right into our Stars and Strikes doubles Tournament of Champions final, as the #1 seeded team of Gary Carrington and Jack Ray will step into the picture.
Well, early on in this match, the bowlers don't seem to be carrying the extra pin or 2 they need to give themselves a real good shot at the spare.
And then, of course, after today, after 2 o'clock today, that'll be it for the season here on Stars and Strikes. We'll take a break for the summer, but the bowling doesn't stop. We will be presenting some of the best shows of the season just completed during the summer months. And then, of course, in the fall, it all starts again. So you'll want to find out exactly when we'll be starting our new season. It'll be late September, early October, sometime in there. Paul Berger close to converting the half Worcester for a spare. He leads by 7. Paul is from Hopedale, Mass.
Off target again to the right.
Paul works as the purchasing manager at Sun Microsystems, does a lot of his bowling in Sudbury and FICO's in Franklin, Mass. He and his wife, Paula, have 2 sons, Damon and Alex, who are both here, enjoying the action. Paul's shaking his head. He's going to wait for that wood to be checked. It looks like it should be okay, and it is, according to lob line judge Joe Paglia. And Paul takes care of it with a 10.
Lead is now 8, 91-83 through 8 frames. Both bowlers in a little bit of a drought. Mike opened up with a pair of spares, and then he's been shut out since, and Paul Burgers had spares in the. There's an extra pin.
And a 9 drop.
And a choice to be made.
Well, now, he's open the last 6 frames. Would he go right at it or at the
No,
wood?
I'd play the wood.
Sure, why not? He had room to get by it, but...
Well, you're shooting at something that's about a foot in length as opposed to trying to get through an opening that's a few inches, so.
A little full, 7 fill. Wife Kathleen, son Michael, and Mike works at GE. And he finishes that first game 109, right.
And there's a 9-pin drop. At first it looked like Paul was going to be left with a 7-9-10. Piece of wood took out both the 9 and the 10 at once and leaves him just with a 7, looking for his 3rd mark of the match.
Gets it. Each bowler with 3 now. $600 to the runner-up. Oh my, the 1-5. That's twice we've seen that in the last few weeks. It's very rare. Dead even right now. And Paul will take 3 extras for a 112 and a 3-pin lead after game 1. 2 to go for the big money here on the 1992 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions Final, and we'll be back in a minute. Game 2. The finals of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Thanks to folks at Tri-State Megabucks. We've said it many times, but always bears repeating. They've done such a great job supporting not only Stars and Strikes, but Candlepin bowling in general. They're with us all year long, and this finale of the season here on Stars and Strikes.
Spare in the first for Paul. Leading by just 3 pins, 112 to 109.
But by no means are the people at Tri-State Megabucks alone in helping us bring you all the great bowling here on the Winds. We want specifically also to thank in this series the folks at Somerville Lumber, where you can get it right the first time, Somerville Lumber. And Emmett Horgan and all the folks at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, where they encourage you to come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan in Salem, New Hampshire. Of course, we have many thank yous that we always like to acknowledge at the end of the year. We're going to do that at the end of the next hour, at the end of the doubles hour. But certainly, as always, want to take every opportunity to thank all of you who tune in and week out and help make Stars and Strikes such a popular program, and we do appreciate it. And also, thanks to you, Dan Murphy. A pleasure as always.
Thank you, Doug. Feeling is likewise. We have a lot of fun. We even get paid a little for doing this. We wouldn't tell them we'd do it for nothing, would we?
I haven't told them that of you.
No. No. Just kidding, folks. Just kidding.
Oh, yes.
Oh, what a spare.
Oh, yeah. The 2-6.
The crowd is kind of falling asleep there. That woke them up.
Sounds like Fenway in here again now. After that shot.
Now Mike Morgan's put on a clinic how to make spares.
The 3, 4, 6, 7 that time.
Sometimes that's all it takes to wake both bowlers up. It's an 8. No. Paul will convert that for a spare.
Not an easy one, the 2-8. Now 5 marks for each bowler, all spares so far. There's a 9 drop on the spare. I dare say we'll have a strike or two before this hour is over. Ooh. And it's still there for a 9.
53 through 4.
This is on a mark for Mike Morgan, and well, I thought that was going to be the first strike of the day.
When you start making spares like the first 2 in this game, Mike Morgan, it's got to start loosening you up. And the pins will start falling for you. The crowd will get behind you.
3 in a row to start this second game for Mike Morgan. He had a rather quiet 109 opening game. Remember, coming into today, over the last 3 weeks, he was averaging 140 per string. And he'll have a shot at another 7 drop.
Now, that was a little full also, but he was able to trip the 7 pin out of there, give himself a shot at the 3, 6, and 10 to make it 4 marks in a row.
No problem, and a quick timeout as Mike Morgan makes it 4 in a row. He has taken the lead here early in game 2. Back at Park Place Lanes, Paul Berger.
Well, maybe we won't get that first strike, Doug.
We've had a lot of close ones.
I can't believe they won't get a few with these 2 ballers. Well, looks like lane 32 has been pretty good to Paul this game. The first, the third, and the 5th boxes, all marks, all spares, all in lane 32.
Well, he missed the head pin to the right, but yet it didn't turn out that badly. Spare leave. Ooh. Well, I'm afraid I almost had that one about racked up.
I was just going to say, you are about to say and a spare, but it's a 10. So 81 through 6. Mike Morgan working on a string of 4 spares, as you can see on the screen. Will fill the 4th spare right now.
Among the highlights of Mike's run here on Stars and Strikes during the Tournament of Champions, 3 weeks ago he threw a 173 middle game that had 8 marks in a row. Last week he threw a 166 opening game that featured a triple strike in the 10th. And he's got a chance for his 5th mark in a row here.
He threw his arms up there. He knew he missed the head pin. He didn't want to punch 2.5 Worcester, but he dropped 7, and he's going to make it. Oh, one mistake, missed the head pin on that fill, but got a break. And he came right back with the ball back in the 1-3 pocket for the conversion of the spare. So when you get big games, you throw a couple balls that aren't quite where you want to put them, get a break out of it. That's what happened in that frame.
Mike has the lead by 5 plus this fill. And will he carry another one this time? No.
No, but the wood swung around, so he's got a real shot at making this. The 2-pin, a couple pieces of wood that should sweep across. Probably would like to grab both pieces if he can. He does. Will the 10-pin go? No.
Nope. Not this time.
So the storm is over, at least for a while.
9 bucks. So the lead is 11. for Mike Morgan overall. He trailed by 3 coming into this game. Paul Berger with the short 3-step approach.
And he's going to shoot at the 3-6-10. Oh, that's 2 boxes in a row now. I thought he had it covered. He had the 1-2 last box on lane 31 and punched out the head pin. This time the 3-6-10 and takes out the 3 and the 6, and it looked like the 10 was destined to go, but not so. 91 through 7.
Oh, he turned away from that one. He didn't even want to look at it. I think maybe he thought he would have a half Worcester. Wound up taking out 4. Nine box for Paul.
2 open frames for Mike Morgan to work on, leading this game by 14, overall by 11. Oh boy.
Look at that. Look at that.
Was looking at possibly the spread eagle or something similar to that. Everything came forward on the left-hand side of the rack and leaves himself just the 3-6-10 again. No. Can't cash in on that break.
A lot of times we talk about how difficult it is to win consecutive programs here on Stars and Strikes, and mentioned the lowest seed of the year to advance to the Tournament of Champions was Dave Richards, who was the number 3 seed. But yet it seems to happen in the Tournament of Champions, and of course you might be able to attribute that to the quality of the field that we get from year to year. The first year of the Tournament of Champions, in 1989, all it took was 2 matches for Bob Moran to win. He finished second, seeded second rather, and won 2 matches to win his tournament. As Mike Morgan puts up a spare in the 8th. 2 years ago, when Paul Berger won it, he beat Al Cloutier. Al Cloutier came up from the number 6 spot, won 4 matches in a row. And then Paul Berger beat him for the championship. And then last year, Pat Pay came up from the number 4 spot. Yes.
Strike for Paul Berger.
A year ago, Pat Pay came up from the number 4 spot, won 4 matches, and won the tournament. And that's what Mike Morgan is trying to do right now.
Real light hit, left just a 2-pin. Wood came back to knock the 2-pin down for the first strike of the match. This time he moves the 3-pin off the spot, which is going to make this conversion for a spare a little more difficult. $127 and $239 for a 2-game total. Well, Mike Morgan for his final 2, working on a spare in the 8th, leading by 11.
A 6 fill. The 1, 3, 6, and 8 with no wood. Nope. Everything but the 8-pin. Well, right now it's all even if you use the total scores. But Mike Morgan has a box in hand. Everything he puts in this 10th box will be his lead, as he trailed by 3 coming in.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Leaves the 7 and the 9. Well, this thing's going to be tight. Going to the 3rd and final game in single digits. 9 to be exact. 139 for Mike Morgan, a 2-string total of 248. So Mike Morgan with a 9-pin lead. We have 1 game remaining to decide the Tournament of Champions winner, and we'll do that right after these words. Well, one game to go in this season on the singles side in the event. I don't want to let you forget that coming up right after this program at 1 o'clock, we'll have the doubles Tournament of Champions final. In that second game, Mike Morgan turned a 3-pin deficit into a 9-pin lead.
1-7-9-10.
This is by far the smallest lead that Mike has had going into a third game, but he has led going into the third game of every match during this stretch. And he comes up with a fine spare here in the first. The 1-7-9-10. He now has 10 spares and no strikes.
Oh, carried that extra pin. Looked like he was going to be left with a 2-4-10. 2 went out, then the 4. Just a 10 pin left.
11 spares.
Paul Berger's just going to have to do the same thing. But no, he's not going to get the extra pin. 6-7-10. Wants that piece of wood to roll over closer to the 6-10. It's not going to happen. Couple choices. But try the wood, see if we can get it to move. Split the 6-10 inside of the 6, off the wall. He tried to split it. So that pushes the lead up to 19.
Well, let's see what happens here. Leaving the 2 and the 8, that piece of wood in front should be well in play. And Paul made this shot already, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
That wood is
get front.
very close. Oh, he got
boy.
by it. Perfect.
Excellent shot.
It was deceiving from the camera angle. That wood was actually much more in front of the 2-pin than it appeared.
Mike Morgan is yet to throw a strike. A lot of spares, though.
Only a 5 fill this time. He opened the second game with 5 spares in a row. Looking for his 3rd in a row here. Oh, yes. We'll watch this again. Three weeks ago in his first match, Mike Morgan set a Tournament of Champions record with 21 marks. The tournament record for spares in a match is 13, shared by several different bowlers, and Mike's next spare will be his 13th.
Oh, he needs some help. Ooh, just sliding by in the right. Thought the wood might kick forward, but
still there for 9.
62 through 4.
Paul Berger working on a spare. He's full. He'll take 6.
But a makeable spare with the wood. 4-7, 6-10. Play the wood in front of the 6 door, right down the middle.
Yes!
Good shot. The ball's halfway down there. I'm thinking, well, that looks like a pretty good place to play it, too. Right down the middle. No, off target. Let's see. 6. 4 horsemen right. 1, 3, 6, 10.
No.
He has trouble in this lane when he has anything to the right.
It's an 8-box. We will break, and we have 6 frames remaining in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions final. Mike Morgan right now with a 22-pin lead. Can he make it 4 wins in a row? We'll find out shortly. Now Mike Morgan has won 3 matches in a row. He leads in this one. He's going to try and complete a 4-match sweep, but he's got a pretty tough customer on the other side of the scoreboard.
22 pins. Not many with 6 frames left. That was a lob.
Oh my.
That was a lob.
It's a 9 drop, but it's not going to count. And I don't think the fans realized it, but Mike went right to the button. Well,
Mike pointed to him. I think Mike knew it as soon as he let the ball go.
oh, how about that? Almost the same ball.
Pin just flew through between the 7 and 4 pins too, almost for a strike, which would have been a spare, but he works it out for a 10.
You can only see a very small portion of the crowd here at Park Place Lanes. But there is just a mob here.
Certainly is. Well, you hear the noise in the background. You know that the few people you see on the screen can't make that much noise. 6:10 left. And Mike does not want to leave 2 open frames for Paul to work on, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Clutch spare right there.
I don't know where he's getting his energy from. He has to be running on empty, but Paul Berger working on a 10 and a spare.
And we just had a small technical problem, but I believe we can press onward.
One, 2, 6, and 10 left. Ball plays the wood, sweeps everything to the right. Still remains alive. That was the important one because Mike Morgan was open in that frame.
I wasn't sure that wood was going to carry the head pin, but it did.
Well, he needs some help here. 6 fill through the middle. He's had this tandem before. 4-7 on the left, 6-10 on the right. And let's see, if that wood stops right about there, he's going to have a shot. He may just have a shot. If the ball can carry through for the 4 pin. No.
Well, here's the situation. Mike Morgan will come up working on a spare, and he will be adding to his lead, which right now is at 17, as you see, plus the fill on this spare. Mike has 13 spares, no strikes.
He just doesn't want to make any mistakes, especially on marks. Leading by 17. Can push it up to that 3 mark advantage. Well, that looks good.
The 4-8.
But this is not going to be an easy spare. He's either going to have to get the 4 pin clean or take all the wood. He's thinking of taking the 4 pin by itself.
Oh, he clipped the wood.
Just enough to change the direction of the ball, and it wasn't enough to carry the 8 pin.
$10.
Lead now is 16 through completed frames. 25, 16 in this game. 25 through completed frames.
Mike comes right back with another pretty good looking first ball. This time he'll shoot at the 2-5. That's a big spare right there.
It certainly is. Not only is it a mark, but it also takes 1 more box away from Paul Berger to work on as far as open frames go. Paul is going to have to put 4 up in a row here.
And that's not the ball he wanted. That last spare for Mike Morgan broke the Tournament of Champions record for most spares in a match, and Paul gave that one a heck of a run.
'83.
So now it's 26, but Mike Morgan already has a markup in the 8th, as you see.
Paul will have to put one up here and hope that Mike does not fill his spare with a decent fill. Off the target, a head pin again, and Paul kind of just throws his arms up saying, you know, can't seem to hit that head pin with the first ball or the second right now. Mike Morgan in command right now.
A 7.
Pushes it to 29, plus the fill.
Well, certainly Mike's thinking more about the win than about the total score, but he's got a shot here at his 4th straight 400. He'd have to put up some numbers here in the last 2 to do it. Seven fill. He would need 2 marks here to get 400. Oof. I thought he had that.
Very close. Just running on pure adrenaline right now. 127 through 9. We need a double strike for 400, but he'd take any kind of a mark. Paul Berger is going to have to throw strikes when he gets up.
Still going. Oh, he's going to get another one, I think. No, he won't.
Twirled it around. Wait a minute, still may go. But he's going to play the single pin. You watch, he's going to play the single pin with the wood behind. It's going to jump over towards the 247. He's too far right. But that was the shot.
Well, even without that, it's going to take a miraculous finish for Paul Berger to win this thing. A 136 for Mike Morgan and a 3-string total 384, which means Paul Berger needs 145 just to tie. That means he needs a whole bunch of strikes. And that will do it. Gets the spare. But even if he were to strike out here, he would end up about 5 pins short. A 2 fill. Mike Morgan has done it. 4 consecutive wins. He has come from that number 4 spot to win the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, $1,500. And we'll be talking to both bowlers and getting to our bonus ball contest, telling you a little bit more about our doubles Tournament of Champions final. And you hear the reaction now from Mike Morgan's fans here at Park Place Lanes. Terrific match. Mike Morgan gets it done, 4 in a row. We'll be back in a minute. Back at Park Place Lanes, Doug Brown with Dan Murphy, and you know the best thing about this is that you just can never predict what's going to happen when this tournament begins, and any one of these guys certainly could have won it. It turned out Mike Morgan got things rolling and was able to win 4 shows. Actually, today was his lowest score of the 4, but it was enough to win it. Yeah, they both struggled most of the day. Mike, in the middle of the match, was able to put some offense up there, and that's what carried him through the whole match. Paul had a tough day the entire day. But like you say, from one day to the next, you never. Paul could come back now and bowl another match and go 440. You never know. All right, it's time to give some money away. Let's have Paul Berger come up first. Big round of applause for Paul. Second place prize money, $600. This is the first time you've lost here in a while. It's been a while since you got the runner-up check, but still, we appreciate your coming by. And boy, you just ran into a buzzsaw. Mike's been rolling.
Mike's been bowling real well. I didn't give him much of a match today. He gave me an opportunity in the first string, and I gassed it. And after that, he was gone. He deserved it. He bowled great.
Well, I'm sure on behalf of all of us and everybody here, we want to also congratulate you for your recent 500 triple. That was a terrific accomplishment, and we hope to see you back again next year.
I'll give it my best shot.
All right. Thanks very much, Paul. Appreciate it. And now Mike Morgan for the bonus ball contest. He gave us a winner last week, John Downs, out in Rochester, New Hampshire. So we're back down to $20 in the jackpot, but of course there are still 2 sets of brand new bowling balls at stake should we get another match. And it'll be a light hit and a 5.
I don't think so.
I think you're probably right, but you never know. You never know. We've had people guess 2. Some people have written in and guessed 2. Not this time, though. It was an 8. The guess was an 8 for Gene Sansusi, I believe it is, from North Andover, Mass. Gene will be sending you a gift as a consolation prize, and I've got a little check here for you, Mike, for $1,500 for 4 consecutive wins. Obviously, no secret that we tape a lot of the programs on the same day, and I'm sure you were feeling some of the effects there at the end.
Yeah, I was a little tired. Like Paul said, he had the chance the first string and really held me in there. Then I just took the 4-box run and really ran with that. But I want to thank everyone out there because they pushed me. I really, I was running out of gas. They kept picking me up. It really helped.
Unusual, too, that you didn't have any strikes in this match. Making spares, but...
Yeah, I just ran out of the power, It was just more or less forcing the ball there rather than having a good roll. And I was fortunate that Paul didn't have a good day.
But you'll take it.
Oh, no. Yeah, my brother will take some of this, too, so we're all set.
Mike, congratulations. That's terrific. Tri-State Megabucks champion for 1992, Mike Morgan, having won 4 straight matches, and it's unusual that it has happened now. Of the 4 tournaments of champions we've had, 3 times now we've had a bowler win 4 matches. And that's the second of the 3 times that bowler has won it all.
You'd think because of the quality of the bowlers that wouldn't happen, I think, because you got the better bowlers, but it's happened. I don't know. They just get up for these matches and you get on a roll, and maybe he was just loose enough to carry it right through.
Well, the season isn't quite over yet. Of course, we'll be back next Sunday at 12 noon with some rebroadcasts throughout the summer of some of our best shows. But remember, the season is not over yet because coming up in a few minutes right after this break, we'll be back with the Stars and Strikes Doubles Tournament of Champions Final. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long from Park Place Lanes.